The Zen Doctor with Dr Stephen Simpson.
Hello and a warm welcome to you. This is episode 5 and the title is Easier to Sell Pain Than Pleasure. And we're going back to our relatives about 50,000 years ago. We've talked about how they managed to talk to each other and confuse themselves, confuse everybody else, and manipulate people for their own good. But sooner or later, it didn't stop there. Our ancestors found out that some messages were very difficult to get across and some messages were very easy. And the easiest message we found was to talk about pain and to get people worried about pain, to get them fearing things. Because then, if we used the right sort of voice and the right sort of words and spoke in the right kind of hypnotic way, people would start to do as we asked them or told them to do, and we didn't need to force them. It was really like pushing an open door. So why are we going back into history? Because if we can understand history, we can understand the now. We can understand where we've come from and where we are right now. And as you can probably tell, I'm back on my boat again, because we come from reptiles, and whenever people want to think about stuff or run away from stuff, we usually get onto our boat if we're lucky enough to have one. So please be patient. I get the boat back, get into the studio, and talk a little bit more about the Zen state of mind. And of course, in all of the things we talk about and we think about, we find little clues that help guide our unconscious mind to an easier and perhaps better way to think and to live.
In our last episode, I recounted a huge event from about 50,000 years ago. We left our sweet-talking ancestor Richard to his overthinking, worrying and scheming. He was our first leader, but was starting to lose his grip. The grunters felt their human rights were being violated and started to grunt among themselves about the need for change, even revolution. Our ancestor Richard was lucky because one of the members of his tribe, Ian, knew that most people talk about the same things, usually the topics that cause them pain. So Ian's advice to Richard was, find where their pain is. Now that the tribe have learned how to speak to each other, they talk a lot of nonsense, and almost all of it's untrue. It doesn't necessarily mean they are lying, they're just deluded, a little psychotic, you might say. This is what Ian said. Find out what they're worrying about, give them a solution to it and a compelling reason to follow you as their leader forever. Then they will be happy even though they will have to work more hours. More importantly, you will also be happy and a lot richer than before. As long as there are simple rules for everybody to adopt, and as long as there is a prize for compliance, people will usually do what you want them to do. The prize does not even have to exist, although it often helps to give out a few medals. So the end result is that everybody's happy, more or less. They know the rain will come and the crops will grow because you said that you would take care of this with your magic. You are the happiest person of all because everybody else is doing all the work and you can relax and enjoy your well-earned fortified honey. As a footnote, Bob the Builder is also a bit happier because he has other people to help him and he stopped moaning about his leg ulcers. Richard's family are very happy because they're now living in a palace. This is a story that will be repeated many times right up to the present day and presumably beyond. A cynical observer, and we have plenty of those, don't we, might point out that the tribe are now working longer hours for less money than before and are not noticeably happier than before either. Indeed, in our present-day society, people are also living longer than ever before, having more babies than ever before, and having more personal possessions than ever before. And yet, the incidence of stress-related disease is also higher than ever before. As Ian explained to Richard, I guess it's always been like this. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But Richard didn't allow these criticisms from the cynics to weaken his cunning plan. Indeed, the plan worked much more successfully than he expected, as he boasted, I am now an emperor ruling my empire. My family are helping me because they're the only people I can trust, although I must say that I'm starting to have a few doubts about their loyalty and think it could soon be time for another cull. On the one hand, it could be argued that we don't have much to show for our millions of years of evolution. We don't appear to be any more intelligent than Richard and his tribe, and we have less practical skills. Yet on the other hand, despite our self-delusions, we've never had it so good. We've got the benefit of modern medicine, lived longer than ever before, as I said. We rarely starve for more than a day or two unless we're on a trendy diet, and yet the rates of some mental illnesses are higher than ever before in history, and I mentioned that previously as well. Because the truth is that none of us knows how to do very much apart from talk and tell lies. Very few people will be able to build their own house now, gather their food, or kill an animal to eat. In other words, they would be totally incapable of surviving. Although people enjoy the illusion of free thought, most of these thoughts they value so highly are only hallucinations. We've forgotten how to trust our most important gift, our gut instinct, also known as intuition. But it's never too late. I'm hopeful that as this series progresses, we can become more psychoic. What do I mean by this? I propose that it's possible to keep the benefits that come from the creativity of our mild degree of psychosis and at the same time regain at least some of our lost psychic powers. As a result, our mental health just might improve. This gives us the opportunity to develop the psychoic state of mind, develop our powers of intuition, and get lucky. The psychoic state of mind is the sweet spot of peak performance that makes people lucky and lives somewhere deep in our reptile brain, somewhere between the psychotic and the psychic states of mind. I hope this history lesson was not too boring. My history lessons at school were dreary to an extreme. It's only now that I recognise the importance of history, because if we understand history, we're a lot closer to being psychoic. I also know it was not the history that was boring, but the teachers. I hope times have changed now. In our next episode, I will review how our thinking often stifles our creativity and presents a huge obstacle in our search for success. It prevents us from getting lucky, but fortunately there are some solutions and they're not too difficult to understand. This is where we leave Richard and his tribe as they plot how to commit genocide against the peace-loving Neanderthals who live in the next valley. Why do they deserve the purest water and the sweetest honey? Next week we will chat about our favourite subject, ourselves. In the meantime, stay well, spend some of your precious time indulging in your favourite Zen activity. Perhaps do something you've never done before. May the flow go with you. Goodbye for now.
If you have enjoyed the Zen Doctor with Dr. Stephen Simpson, then why not hit the subscribe button? The music, The Soul of the Shaman, was specially composed for the Zen Doctor.
To find out more, go to drstephensimpson.com.